Subscribe now, before the final piece of truth slips away. The crime scene tape fluttered like a thin yellow pulse in the stairwell as Detective Mara Kincaid took the last 3 steps, 2 at a time. The hallway on the 3rd floor smelled like radiator dust and old lemon cleaner. Apartment 3A was sealed. A printed notice from the department glared from the door like a warning label. Inside, the lights glowed warm over a kitchen that pretended to be calm. A rinsed mug on a drying rack, a plant drooping on the sill, a phone on the counter, powered off, SIM tray empty and neatly pushed beside it like a pulled tooth. Kincaid's own phone buzzed in her pocket. So did the phones in the hands of Riley Summers' friends clustered at the other end of the hall. Each screen lighting up with a message that sounded like Riley always sounded. Crooked humor, soft sarcasm, the exact cadence of a girl who posted playlist links at 2 a.m. and ordered fries for the table without asking. The newest text dropped into the group chat with a timestamp that mocked the tape on the door. "Tell Lucas I found his hoodie finally." Kincaid walked into Riley's kitchen, set a Faraday pouch on the counter, and stared at the dead device. The battery indicator showed nothing. The glass, wiped clean by evidence techs, reflected Kincaid's own face, drawn, impatient. She'd carried the skepticism of too many cold apartments and half-written plans. The rumors spreading through the friends was easy and stupid. Ghost texts, haunted systems. Kincaid didn't do hauntings. People did this. People programmed things long before they vanished. J.V. Park, the digital examiner assigned to the case, ducked under the tape with a portable kit slung from his shoulder. "Router's still live," he said, nodding at a black mesh node tucked like a spider on the bookshelf. "Building Wi-Fi's a patchwork, but I can pull DHCP leases if we get into the closet off the lobby. Whoever mirrored her phone didn't need the SIM. They needed the house." "The house?" Park shrugged. "Smart TV, smart plugs, smart everything. You give enough devices the right permissions, the apartment turns into a mouth." "What about the texts?" Kincaid said. "Her friends say they're getting inside jokes, things from freshman year, not the kind of stuff you'd scrape from public feeds." "Mirroring, or worse, a long game. You embed, you watch, you learn the voice. You seed drafts to send later, or reply in real time from any node that passes as her identity. Whoever did it knew her well enough to mimic the friction. Emoji choices, misspellings, timing." On the counter, the phone stayed silent, a corpse in full view of its Vaughn afterlife. Riley Summers had been last seen on a Friday. Cheap glitters still lived in the grout lines by her sink. She was 21, a communications major who worked part-time at a cafe and maintained a group chat that accumulated the sticky residue of years, birthdays, breakups, sarcastic weather reports from bus stops. She'd left a bar with friends shortly after midnight. She'd waved off a shared ride and walked the 4 blocks home in a city where 4 blocks could be both nothing and everything. Building security footage confirmed she got to the front door. The camera at the elevator showed her stepping inside alone. That was the last free moment of data. Kincaid walked through the apartment slowly, letting her eyes snag on what didn't fit. The chain on the front door had been engaged. Tex removed it that morning. A coat still hung over the back of a chair, one sleeve turned inside out as if yanked off in a hurry. The windows were locked from the inside. The bathroom mirror bore the ghost of an erased note. Someone had written on it in the mist at some point and wiped it clean. In the bedroom, a laundry basket held folded clothes. Nothing screamed chaos, but nothing about the texts felt like peace. Down the hall, Riley's friends spoke in shreds, their words buzzing like insects. Amber Cho, the roommate who'd been in Portland for the weekend during the disappearance, kept glancing at the sealed door like it might split. Lucas Rivers, the hoodie's presumed owner, paced and swore and demanded answers from anyone in a uniform. Noah Pike, the on-again, off-again boyfriend, stood with his back to the wall, thumbs scrolling and scrolling, face blankly lit. The building superintendent, Henry Voss, held himself like a man watching a storm from a safe porch, hands tucked under his elbows. He'd been living on site for years. He had master keys and a way of answering questions by nodding at nothing. "We're going to need access to your telecom closet," Kincaid told him, "and the maintenance logs. Anyone in and out in the last month? Voss rubbed the back of his neck. Keys are downstairs, telecoms kept locked. No one touches it except me. Though a contractor was here last week, mesh node upgrade. The landlord swears it was scheduled. Name of the contractor? Kincaid said. Voss shrugged. Wasn't my hire. Park crouched near the bookshelf node with a small antenna, reading off a list of recently connected devices. We've got Riley's phone, her laptop, a TV, 2 plugs named lamp and kettle, and something that calls itself Piper. Piper? Kincaid said. Could be a speaker, could be a DIY board, could be a phantom, spoofed MAC address. Park frowned. It connected 5 minutes before the most recent text. Another buzz, another message. The words came gentle and familiar, like a hand squeezed under a table. Stop worrying, I'm fine. They always make it look worse than it is. Amber's face drained. That's what she said to me when her dad lost his job. Nobody knows that. Nobody. Kincaid felt the heat rise under her collar. JV, pull traffic. I want to know which node, where, and how. On it, he lowered his voice. Detective, there's something else. Her cloud backup shows an unfamiliar login about 3 weeks ago. Same city, different device. After that, a lot of silent pings, like someone was mapping. Kincaid thought of the bathroom mirror's erased line. You could stand in a doorway and feel watched by nothing. Or you could be watched by a room trained to listen. She went back through the apartment with a slower eye. A wall outlet near the kitchen looked slightly newer than the rest, the screw's paint unchipped. She pressed her fingernail to the seam of the faceplate. It didn't budge. At the baseboard behind the dining chair was a hairline cut through the paint, a rectangle neatly ghosted over with fresh white. Someone had opened that wall and closed it again with the steady hand of a person who builds things for a living. "Henry?" she called. "You had anyone in 3A for repairs?" Voss appeared in the doorway. "Not that I recall. Tenants call me, no tickets placed." "Who lives above this unit?" Kincaid asked. 4A is empty, lease ended. 4B is grad student. Nice kid, quiet. She filed the names. The apartment felt smaller now, as if inhaling around her, waiting. Park stood by the node, tracing traffic on his tablet, lifting his head with the grim excitement of a hunter hearing brush snap. "Basement," he said. "Most data's bouncing through the building backbone. If someone's piggybacking, they're doing it from the closet or somewhere fed by it." The telecom closet door off the lobby was old, its paint chewed by keys long gone. Voss's master opened it with a reluctant clack. A waft of chilled air brushed Kincaid's face. Metal, dust, a chemical afterscent like fresh-cut plastic. Inside, a rack of switches, patch panels labeled in someone's neat block letters, 3A, 3B, 4A, 4B, rising like organ pipes. Electrical conduits ran up the wall into the building's bones. A folding chair leaned against the rack, one leg bent. A paper coffee cup sat on the floor, recent enough that the ring of moisture beneath it hadn't dried up. Park's eyes had already found the thing that shouldn't be there. Not on the official rack, not labeled, not paid for by any landlord, mounted on the side panel with 2 cheap screws and a faith in neglect. A small fan whirred in a black shoebox-sized case, a bundle of Ethernet pigtails slipped from it like veins. A USB stick jutted from the front. A stick-on label read Piper in silver marker. "Don't touch," Kincaid said. She crouched, taking in the details. A cheap single-board computer, heat sinks snared to it with adhesive, an aftermarket cellular modem dangling without a SIM. The Ethernet lines led to ports labeled 3A and 4B. Someone had been selective. Someone had known. A webcam the size of a postage stamp was velcroed to the shelf, pointed not at the rack, but at the doorway, blinkless and black. Park angled his tablet. "It's passing traffic, spoofing as a service note. It can pretend to be a speaker, a TV, a phone. It can speak the right language to every device in the apartment." He paused. "There's a local admin page? God, people get cocky." "What does it show?" Kincaid asked, voice flattening as the tunnel of her attention narrowed to a single point. Mirrors of her messages, draft boxes, schedules. Some replies were queued, others were live. He swallowed. Whoever typed them listens through the apartment's plugs and speaker mics. See this? The response cadence shifts when there's motion in 3A. They were waiting for an audience. Kincaid felt that deliverance of cold clarity. You tell yourself a ghost and you get to feel harmless fear. You tell yourself a person and you get to chase. You said 4B too, she said. Why 4B? Park scrolled. 2 ports. One feeds 3A, one climbs to 4B. Piper logs show majority of admin sessions originate upstairs. Voss shifted, his keys tapping his thigh. Grad student, he said again, as if repeating it would make it truer. Quiet. Another buzz in the hallway above them, faint and simultaneous, as if 10 bees had woken. Or maybe it was the building's pipes settling, telling old stories. Kincaid didn't trust buildings. She trusted the abrupt intimacy of a message that wasn't meant for her and still found its way into her pocket. Her phone vibrated. She glanced down with the irritability of a reflex and then stood still, the soles of her shoes rooted to the concrete. You're in the basement, right? Her name wasn't in the chat. Her presence wasn't in any list, and yet the message, written in Riley's voice, referenced exactly where she stood. Amber's reply kicked in a second later. Wait, what basement? But Kincaid barely saw it. Heat crawled across her scalp. She looked up at the tiny webcam as if it could bare its teeth. Park stared at her screen, then at his. It's not just a schedule, he said, and an awful gratitude for being right slicked his words. They're watching in real time. Kincaid stepped closer to Piper's little box, studying the maladroit confidence of whoever had installed it. The cheap screws, the sloppy Velcro, a little nod to theatrics in the webcam's angle. A cable labeled 4B pulsed a faint gleam. She straightened. We go up. Now. Voss fumbled his ring again. Kincaid took the stairs, choosing them over the elevator because old stairs told you things an elevator didn't. Footsteps, hesitation, the way air moved ahead of a door. On the 4th floor, the hall ran in hush. 4A's door wore a realtor lockbox. 4B had a row of stickers on the mailbox slot. Delivery notes, student associations, a peeled corner that suggested restless hands. She pressed her ear to the door and heard something so slight it felt like an idea. A light hum and a periodic click like a mouse or a camera or a person tapping the edge of a desk while they thought. Police, she said, flat, controlled. Open the door. Nothing. Then a breath of movement, air shifting as if someone had walked past the door on the inside. Key, Kincaid said, without looking at Voss. He slid a key in with shaking fingers. The lock turned, resisted once, then surrendered. The door swung inward to a living room that shouldn't have been able to hide anything, and yet felt like it was hiding everything. Neat couch, tidy books, a desk against the wall with a laptop sleeping, a smart speaker the size of a mug, blinds drawn. A blanket was thrown over a chair with the deliberation of a photograph trying to look candid. The place smelled like shampoo and cold coffee. Park went to the desk. Kincaid swept the bedroom and the bathroom fast and methodical. No one. The closet held shirts arranged by color, shoes aligned heel to toe, a storage bin labeled with months. In the bathroom trash, an empty blister pack for adhesive cable clips. Detective, Park called, the tone in his voice a low tide pulling her back. She returned to the desk to see the laptop screen blinking awake not to a lock screen, but to a browser already there, waiting, a tab open on an admin page with a clean white background and a name near the top. Piper. Below it, a list of replies fired off in the past hour. The last one hovered in a text box, half a draft, the cursor pulsing as if the hand that left it had simply been pulled upward at the wrist. Her phone buzzed again. The group chat chimed. Another message appeared, written in Riley's softness and knife-tip humor. I see you. Park's eyes flicked to the corner of the screen where a live feed thumbnail showed a narrow room, a rack, a folding chair, a black box with a fan. Kincaid felt the skin on the back of her neck go tight.
The feed timecode matched now. The camera angle was the same as the tiny webcam in the basement, except this view included something the basement cam did not: the reflection in a glassy panel near the floor. In it, a shape moved past, fast, low, deliberate, just outside the closet's frame. "Wait," Park said, raising a hand instinctively toward the screen as if he could slow time with a gesture. "That's—" They listened. The building exhaled a long metallic sigh. From the hallway downstairs came a sound that Kincaid learned never to ignore: the pop of a utility door settling back into its frame after being eased open and shut by a careful hand. She pictured the folding chair's bent leg. She pictured the coffee ring still wet. Kincaid looked at Voss. "Is there another locked access point down there?" He nodded, throat bobbing. "Service hatch behind the boiler. Old crawlspace between the foundation and the original telecom conduits. No one uses it. It's always stayed locked." Park didn't look away from the feed. "It's not locked now." When they finally reached the boiler room and Voss's key scraped open the narrow metal hatch, the wall swung on a tired hinge and everything changed.
The hatch wheezed open, spilling the scent of old earth and wet insulation into the boiler room. Detective Mara Kincaid crouched, flashlight steady, eyes adjusting to the crawlspace beyond. The air was dense, the kind of air that had been sitting still for years, pressed between walls. Dust danced in her beam like ash. Somewhere inside that narrow dark, water dripped in rhythm, tick by tick, like a metronome keeping time for something unseen. "Hold the light steady," she said to Park, who was already unspooling a fiber optic line from his tablet pack. "Whoever's down there left in a hurry," he muttered. "Piper's feed went dark right after we opened the hatch." Kincaid scanned the ground. Shoe prints, faint, smudged by dust, led into the crawlspace, but none came back out. She tightened her grip on her sidearm, slid inside on her elbows. The walls pressed close, pipes sweating condensation. Her breath came shallow. Every sound, her boots scraping, the shift of her jacket, seemed amplified, rebounding off the concrete. 10 feet in, her light found movement, a bundle of cables converging into a gray junction box wedged behind a pipe cluster. Another device was attached, a second black case, smaller than Piper, its fan whining in exhaustion. Kincaid reached out carefully, brushing aside a web. A single red LED blinked on its face, keeping rhythm with the dripping water. Park's voice echoed softly behind her. "I'm getting signal bleed. That box is still broadcasting. Someone's piggybacking the building network from in here." "Recording?" she asked. "More than that. It's pushing data out to a remote server, live feed." He paused, frowning at the readings. "And it's got motion sensors, heat, audio, even proximity triggers. Someone built this like a nest." Kincaid's light caught something beyond the cables, a scrap of cloth pinned under a pipe. She tugged it free, a strip of cotton, frayed edge, dark stains soaked through. The fabric bore faint printed text: University of Eastbridge, student housing. Riley Summers College. She froze for half a breath, then eased backward out of the space. "Get the evidence text down here. Now." As she stood, the building groaned above them, that deep, hollow tremor of weight shifting in wood. Park flinched, eyes darting toward the stairwell. "You hear that?" "Yeah." Kincaid's voice flattened. "He's still inside." They climbed fast, weapons drawn, hearts sinking to the rhythm of old floorboards. The fourth-floor corridor looked the same, quiet, composed, the air faintly humming with electricity. The door to 4B stood ajar now, a 2-inch slit of shadow in lamplight. Kincaid gestured. Park angled his flashlight. The apartment was empty, not ransacked, emptied. The desk was bare, cables yanked clean, drawers missing their contents. On the counter sat a ceramic mug, half full, coffee still steaming faintly. Whoever had been there was minutes ahead. A single note lay beneath the mug. "Don't disconnect her." She read it twice. Her. Park's eyes went wide. "Detective, Piper's console isn't the only one. I found secondary IP routes. One of them mirrors an active call channel." "What kind of channel?" Live voice. He put his tablet speaker up. For a second, only static. Then, faint but distinct, came the sound of breathing. Female, controlled, shallow. A click of movement followed by a voice. Riley's voice. "Why are you watching me?" Park muted the audio, his mouth going dry. That's her, or someone using her sample library. The timestamps line up with messages sent after she vanished. Kincaid felt her pulse kick. Location? Cross-triangulating. He typed, the tablet screen strobing in reflection off his glasses. The signal's not from here. It's bouncing between nodes. Wait, oh my God! The last hop route's back to her apartment's smart speaker, the one in 3A. She's talking from inside her own place? He shook his head slowly. No, someone's replying to her voice recording, an automated mimic. Kincaid's stomach turned cold. She walked to the window and pulled back the blind. Across the narrow courtyard, through the grime-streaked glass of 3A, a single lamp still burned. It cast an amber halo across the couch where Riley's phone had sat. The police had cut power to the outlets during the sweep. That lamp should have been dead. Park, call the power company. Find out if anyone has rerouted the line. Before he could reply, her phone buzzed again. A new message. Riley's name. The text read, "You shouldn't have come back upstairs." The room fell into a silence so deep it swallowed the hum of the refrigerator. Kincaid lifted her eyes. The lamp across the courtyard flickered twice, then died. Lights out. He's killing circuits. Kincaid moved. Down the stairs, across the lobby, through the taped doorway of 3A. Her flashlight beam carved the dark open, revealing the same still kitchen, the same folded coat, the same dead phone on the counter. But now the phone screen glowed faintly, the Apple logo pulsing as if rebooting on its own. She stepped closer. The device unlocked itself. Message threads bloomed across the glass like veins, hundreds of texts cascading upward. At the top, a draft box labeled "Unsent." Kincaid touched the screen. The last draft opened automatically. He lives between the walls. Behind her, something inside the drywall crackled, a faint scurry of movement, like nails brushing insulation. Park's flashlight caught a line of patched plaster near the cabinet, too smooth, too new. He pressed his hand against it. It felt warm. "Kincaid," he said, voice barely there. "It's hollow." She holstered her weapon and motioned for the crowbar from the evidence kit. One careful swing, then another, plaster splintered, dust spilling out like breath. Behind the wall, wedged between studs, was a narrow vertical shaft filled with cables, a router board, and a cheap webcam facing outward. Taped beneath it, like a trophy or a message, was a photo. Riley Summers, smiling on the day she moved in. Park leaned closer. "This is the live channel source. Whoever set this up, they're inside the walls." A soft click interrupted him. The sound of a camera shutter from somewhere deeper within the cavity. Then another. Kincaid whipped her light toward the dark seam extending beyond the broken panel. The lens flare caught something metallic withdrawing. The corner of another camera, retreating further into the narrow space, out of reach.
"They know we're here," she said. "Seal the exits." But the exits were already sealed. The door at the end of the hall had swung shut on its own. From inside the walls came the faint, rhythmic tap-tap-tap of a tool against a pipe. A code, a countdown, or just mockery, she couldn't tell. Then, from the phone still resting on the counter, another message appeared on the lock screen. "You never checked the basement feed." Park bolted for the door. Kincaid followed, boots pounding the old wood. The basement corridor stank of heat and metal. The Piper device was still running, fan roaring now as if under strain. Its screen flashed between code lines and a single looping window, the boiler room camera feed. But this time, the view had changed. In the live video, someone stood in the far corner of the room, half in shadow, wearing Riley's hoodie. The face was obscured, a cheap respirator mask covering the mouth, the upper half hidden beneath the hood. The figure stared straight into the lens, motionless, the red indicator light reflecting in the glass like a pupil. Kincaid whispered, Please tell me that's delayed footage. Park swallowed. It's not. The timestamp's live. The figure raised its hand, holding a small phone. The screen of that phone displayed the same live feed, an infinite mirror of their own terror. Then, without moving its body, the figure lifted the other hand and pointed, not at the camera, but slightly off-frame, to the left, to something standing just outside the shot. Kincaid took a slow step back from the monitor. What's to the left of that feed, Park? He tapped a few keys, switching angles. The camera panned, revealing the boiler, the folding chair, and behind it the narrow metal hatch, open again, swinging gently. A faint voice came through the speaker on the desk, the same tone, same softness, same cruel calm. Detective, you shouldn't have disconnected me. The screen went black. The building lights cut out with a soft click, and from somewhere inside the darkness of the walls, a woman's laughter, thin, electronic, familiar, echoed back up through the floors.
The power outage rolled through the building like a wave, one floor at a time, every hum, every bulb, every whisper of current collapsing into silence. Detective Mara Kincaid's flashlight cut a single blade through the dark, bouncing off pipes and dust. The basement felt alive now, breathing through the vents. She could hear it, the faint, syncopated rhythm of something mechanical ticking behind the walls, too steady to be random. "Park," she said quietly. No response. She turned the light. The folding chair was overturned, Park's tablet still on the floor, its last frame frozen on that mirrored feed. The figure in Riley's hoodie remained frozen mid-point, finger extended toward that open hatch. But Park was gone. Her pulse rose. "Javi?" From the far end of the basement, a metallic clang answered her, then another. A deliberate pattern. Someone was moving through the maintenance corridor. Kincaid followed the noise, flashlight sweeping over dripping pipes, old conduit, a cracked boiler tag that read, "Installed 1997. Her shoes left wet prints. Another sound. Breathing this time, close, maybe 15 feet ahead. She stopped, shoulder to the wall, listening. Then a voice echoed, hollow and warped, through the metal passage. "Hello, Detective Kincaid?" "Park," she exhaled. "Where are you?" "Behind the panel," he said, voice unsteady. "There's another opening. It's like a passage." "Don't move, I'm coming to you." She found the gap, a narrow rectangle between two support beams, drywall stripped away long ago. Park crouched on the other side, his face gray with dust and the blue glow of his tablet. He'd found a hidden service tunnel, narrow enough to force them to crawl. "Whoever built this," he whispered, "knew the building inside and out. It runs parallel to the old phone lines. Look!" He angled his screen, a blueprint schematic of the original structure, pulled from city archives. The tunnel network spidered between apartments, intersecting with old utility chutes. "Riley's unit connects straight here," he said. "There's a gap behind her kitchen wall. That's how they watched her." Kincaid felt her skin crawl. "You think they lived in it?" Park hesitated. "More like moved through it." She swept her light along the wall. Words carved faintly into the concrete emerged under the beam. "Hello again, Riley." Each letter shallow, hurried, scratched by something blunt, maybe a screwdriver. The grooves were filled with dust, years old, but below it, new words glimmered in wet marker. "You brought her back." Kincaid's stomach tightened. "He's been down here since the night she disappeared." Park nodded slowly. "And now he thinks you're her." Before she could reply, another light flickered at the tunnel's far end, faint blue, pulsing. Park lifted his tablet. "That's coming from Piper's backup module, the one we found earlier." They crawled closer. The blue light came from a small router wedged in a junction box. A line of code scrolled across its tiny screen. It wasn't system output, it was text. "Welcome home, Riley." Park reached forward. "I can pull its memory drive." The light died. Instantly, a faint click behind them, then a whisper that made every muscle in Kincaid's body lock. "Don't you remember this place?" It was Riley's voice, but not through a speaker. It came from the dark itself, echoing through the metal duct like it had a throat of its own. Park's tablet pinged. Notifications burst across the screen, a flood of texts, each one time-stamped for now. "I'm here. You left me. Why did you lock the door? He said you'd come back." Then one final message. "Look behind you." They turned together. A shape moved past the edge of the flashlight beam, tall, deliberate, stepping backward into the shadows. The respirator mask caught the light first, the lens of a camera glinting from the shoulder harness. The figure wasn't running. It was recording. Kincaid drew her weapon. "Police, on the ground!" The figure didn't comply. Instead, it lifted a phone, Riley's phone, and set it gently on the floor between them, then stepped back into the dark and vanished, leaving the faint smell of cold plastic and sweat. Park grabbed the phone, screen still glowing. A new video notification blinked. "It's uploading, live feed, unsecured network." "Where's it going?" He checked the source. "City server, public stream node. It's broadcasting us right now." On the screen, Kincaid saw their own faces, seen from above, the crawl space camera, and under the live feed a caption typed in neat white text. Episode 2. The detective who replaced her. Her throat tightened. "He's turning this into a series!" The phone buzzed again. Another text appeared. "Every episode needs an ending." Then the sound of footsteps above them, heavy, measured. Kincaid's instincts screamed. She killed the flashlight. The footsteps moved toward the basement stairs. Whoever it was wasn't rushing, they were descending. She motioned to Park, gesturing toward the opposite tunnel exit. They slipped through the crawlspace and into a side corridor, emerging behind the boiler stack. From there, Kincaid saw the lower half of the intruder, dark jeans, gloved hands, the faint reflection of a camera lens hanging at chest level. Park mouthed, "Go," and sprinted toward the emergency exit. The intruder turned instantly, movement uncannily smooth. A light on the chest camera blinked red. Kincaid fired once, shattering a pipe overhead. Steam filled the air, clouding everything in boiling white. Footsteps retreated, fast, up the stairs. By the time they reached the lobby, the front door was wide open. Outside, rain streaked across the streetlights. A dark van idled at the curb. No plates, just condensation on every window. As Kincaid raised her weapon, the van rolled forward, tires whispering over wet pavement, and turned the corner. Gone. Park doubled over, coughing. "He's been here the whole time, watching us watch him." She looked at the phone, still in his hand. The upload had stopped. The last frame frozen on the stream showed her face, half lit, eyes wide, beneath a line of text typed by someone else. To be continued. 2 days later, the department issued a press statement. The suspect is believed to have utilized advanced surveillance systems to manipulate digital identities. It read like a technical failure, not a tragedy. But Kincaid couldn't shake what she'd seen on that screen, the reflection of herself in the same place Riley once stood, repeating a cycle she didn't start. In her apartment that night, she set her service weapon on the counter, poured herself a drink, and stared at the shadows gathering near her kitchen wall. The silence was too still, too symmetrical. Her phone, face down beside her, buzzed once. One new message. Unknown number. You left the light on in the basement. She froze. The words carried that exact same tone, that same easy warmth Riley used with her friends. A perfect imitation. Another buzz. This time, An image. Grainy. Taken from across the street. A photo of her own apartment window, light spilling through the blinds. Under it, one last message. Don't disconnect her again. Her glass of drink trembled in her hand. She looked at the shadows near the wall and swore just for a second they shifted. Somewhere deep in the city, another upload went live, under an anonymous channel name. The House That Answered Back, Episode 3. A thumbnail of Kincaid. Caption: She thought the case was over. If you thought this one was wild, wait for the next. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.